Hi, I'm Cindy Smith. I'm a technology consultant at Ingram Micro. In this video, we'll take a look at what business continuity is, why it's important to your customers, and explore some additional steps your customers can take to ensure that they recover from the most prevalent form of cyber attack, ransomware. So, what is business continuity? Business continuity is a comprehensive plan for maintaining business operations before, during, and after a disaster or some sort of disruptive event. Building the business continuity plan is an iterative process of identifying mission and business critical functions, prioritizing people, processes, and technology to support those functions, and developing strategies to sustain or restore operations prior to or after a service interruption has occurred. The process of developing a business continuity plan consists of 4 steps and is closely aligned with the NIST cybersecurity framework. We'll more closely explore each of the steps in a few minutes, but first, let's take a look at why a business continuity plan is so important. Well, it's a dangerous world out there. Weather events and other natural disasters, mistakes and intentional sabotage by trusted employees, power outages, hardware failure, software bugs, operating system vulnerabilities, and global pandemic are examples of the threats to an organization's operations. The biggest threat most organizations face today is cyber attack, and in particular, ransomware. The business continuity plan helps organizations develop strategies for addressing the threats that pose the most significant risk to their mission and business critical operations and aids the organization in restoring critical operations in the event of an interruption. A solid, tested, and well maintained business continuity plan will save an organization time and money should disaster strike and can mitigate damage to an organization's reputation as well. Let's take a quick look at each of the 4 steps involved in the development of a business continuity plan. The first step is identify. During this step, an organization performs an inventory of critical operations, looking at people, processes, and technology, and the threats and vulnerabilities to each. Then a risk assessment is performed to identify what negative events might actually occur. It evaluates those events based on how likely they are to occur and how damaging they would be. For instance, we might identify the sole individual who knows how to print the checks for accounts payable. If she were to become ill from COVID, how would the organization continue to pay their suppliers? Or an organization's critical servers are in a location that is super prone to power outages. The second step is analyze, and it's during this step that we perform a business impact analysis, where business processes would hurt the company the most to lose for various periods of time. It evaluates them based on a combination of mission criticality and time sensitivity. The business impact analysis, or BIA, helps identify which processes most need to be protected. It provides a rational basis on which to allocate an organization's business continuity management resources. A BIA should be based on an organization's primary mission, and doing a BIA correctly requires tough, disciplined thinking. You have to rank the criticality of the business operations identified in step 1 and define the scope of the business continuity plan. But then define the recovery time objective and recovery point objective for each critical business operation in scope and calculate the cost of downtime for each. The business impact analysis tells us what will be impacted, and the risk assessment tells us how the impact occurs. The third step in the business continuity planning is to create, and we create a set of risk mitigation strategies. The output from the business impact analysis and risk assessment enable us to develop a set of risk mitigation strategies. In the 2 examples I gave earlier, the organization may simply need to provide cross-training for those job functions where only a single individual has the skill set. Or in the case of the critical servers located where power outages are frequent, we may decide to install a generator. Other risk mitigation techniques may include engineering infrastructure to ensure there are no single points of failure, moving workloads to the cloud, again, having a backup power supply and a fire suppression system, cross-training employees, and implementing a patch management strategy, encrypting data at rest and in flight, and creating a security culture by implementing an employee training and awareness program, as well as implementing multi-factor authentication, next-gen firewalls, and zero trust networking. Also during this step, incident response and disaster recovery plans are created to enable restoration of operations for the risk that remains after mitigation strategies are implemented. Incident response are the steps performed typically by a dedicated incident response team from the time that a security event, like a data breach or cyber attack, is identified to the time that it is resolved and reported, with the goal to quickly contain, minimize, and learn from the damage. A disaster recovery plan is an extremely detailed set of instructions on how to restore those mission and business critical systems. In the final step, we measure effectiveness by ensuring that our strategies work. And to do that, we need to conduct regular, realistic exercises or tests. We also need to make sure all team participants are trained on their roles in the business continuity plan. Since our business and critical elements are constantly changing, it's important that the business continuity plan is audited and updated to reflect changes to the environment and threat landscape. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Now, as promised, I want to take just a few minutes to discuss how your customers can ensure that their most mission and business critical data and applications are recoverable in the event of a ransomware attack. Regardless of the industry or size of the organization, cyber attacks continually expose business and governments to data compromise, lost revenue due to downtime, reputational damage, and costly regulatory fines. The average annual cost of cybercrime per company increased to $13 million, a surge of 72% in just the last 5 years. Having a cyber recovery strategy has become a mandate for business and government leaders. 79% of global executives rank cyber attack as one of their organization's highest risk management priorities. As you probably know, the FBI recommends not paying any ransoms. That ransom money is used to support the cyber attackers' continued operations. Plus, there's no guarantee that your data will be recoverable once decrypted if you do pay the ransom. So the 4 organizations listed here suggest that you back up your data regularly and store at least one copy of your backups offline. And ideally, the backups are immutable, password protected, and only a very few trusted individuals have access to them. The financial industry and others are adopting a best practice of creating a physically isolated, air-gapped recovery vault where immutable copies of mission and business critical data are stored along with recovery runbooks and possibly any infrastructure hardware to recover the most critical systems. And access to that recovery vault is limited, which provides the added benefit of protecting against an insider attack. The only communication between the corporate network and the recovery vault is for the purpose of synchronizing the backup data from production to the vault. That communication is automated and initiated from within the vault and is shut down as soon as the replication session between production and the vault is complete. Backup data is encrypted both at rest and in flight. The backup data in the vault is immutable, meaning it may not be changed. Backup data stored in the vault is also scanned to look for signs of compromise compared to previous backup for changes that may also indicate a cyber attack. FBI and other law enforcement organizations and cybersecurity agencies agree that a protected backup is the best way to recover from a ransomware attack if prevention safeguards fail. Here are a few of the major players in the business continuity offered through Ingram Micro. For more information, please reach out to the Ingram Micro cybersecurity team. Thank you for your time. Again, I'm Cindy Smith with Ingram Micro. Stay vigilant and check back frequently for additional content.